I relished the moments spent with my son in this manner, authentic tales of forbidden love. I've always held the view that beauty possesses a subtle strength. It's not only in the face but in the manner you present yourself, in the assurance that arises from understanding your true self. At 49, I possessed a confidence that led others to question my age. Working in interior design only honed that skill, polished preferences, flawless elegance, a keen perception of what renders objects and individuals captivating, yet no one had ever looked up to me quite like my son Alan once did. For 23 years, I had been the focal point of his existence. He would share with me his triumphs and setbacks, recounting tales of college, his companions, and the journey of life. He had faith in my decisions, holding my opinions in the highest regard. Then Amanda arrived. She was enchanting. That much was undeniable, elegant and poised, possessing a natural allure that left young men at a loss for words. She twirled gracefully, immersing herself in the flow of movement, and found tranquility in her yoga practice. There was a buoyancy about her that brought to mind the girl I used to be, and Alan was captivated. For the first time, he wasn't reaching out to share the details of his day. He was sharing stories about hers. I would inquire about his classes, his voice filled with a certain admiration he had previously reserved just for me. She moves with such elegance, as if she possesses an intimate knowledge of her own form that surpasses anyone I've encountered. I smiled, pretending to approve. She seems absolutely delightful. She is. Once more, there was that glow, that spark, the look I had observed in his eyes during his youth, and I possessed all the answers. Now Amanda possessed them. I had never experienced jealousy towards another woman in my life, neither of colleagues, nor of companions, yet this was unlike anything else. So, I embarked on an experience I had never encountered before. I requested a yoga lesson from Amanda. "Are you certain?" she inquired, her eyes wide with genuine surprise. "Why not? I will bring my mat." I nodded, as though I hadn't meticulously orchestrated every detail to unfold precisely like this. The afternoon was simply delightful. It was a warm day, accompanied by a gentle breeze that wafted the fragrance of jasmine from the garden. The pool glistened beneath the sun, alluring and refreshing. Alan had invited his closest companion Ron over, and they sat on the poolside chairs, laughter spilling between them over something that now felt far away to me. Amanda spread out her mat next to mine, her graceful figure seamlessly finding its place. "This one is a fantastic method to expand your chest," she remarked, elegantly bending backward. I imitated her movement, experiencing the gratifying sensation of my muscles extending. Years had passed since I last challenged my body in this way, and yet, as I moved, I experienced a sensation I hadn't felt in a long time. Strength. Ron's voice pierced the stillness. "Impressive, Victoria, you truly excel at this." I looked up, locking eyes with him. He was observing me with a familiarity that struck me immediately, gratitude, the identical manner in which he had glanced at Amanda earlier. Even Alan glanced over, his expression changed subtly. Alan remarked that she has always been athletic. His voice was relaxed yet authoritative. "Mom is in better shape than many people our age." Years. I understood his meaning. That I wasn't like other mothers, that I had never allowed time to dictate my essence. And yet, with Amanda beside me, I allow the words to resonate in the air. "She's more like a friend than a mother," Alan remarked, glancing at Ron. Indeed. I averted my gaze before anyone could notice the subtle upward curve of my lips. I feared I was slipping away from my position in his life. In that instant, I came to an important realization. I remained at the center. Amanda was truly remarkable. She possessed youth, beauty, and grace. However, I was Victoria, and that still held significance. I had never genuinely thought of myself as someone prone to jealousy. However, I was starting to understand that jealousy wasn't always a loud emotion. It wasn't always pointed remarks or distant gestures. At times, it had a gentle quality, staying a while longer. A gradual, creeping realization that something you once held dear had been silently removed from your grasp. Alan had always considered me first, his initial call when something positive occurred. His initial solace when challenges arose, and now it was Amanda. But today, I had reclaimed something. As I maintained my yoga pose longer than Amanda. As I flexed, with a level of discipline that only years of understanding my body could provide, I observed how Ron took notice, the manner in which Alan approached it. And even the way Amanda, though kind and oblivious to my inner turmoil, looked at me with a hint of admiration. "Victoria, you're a natural," Amanda remarked, reaching for her water bottle. "Honestly, your balance is remarkable. You could enter any class and easily stand out among many of the attendees," Amanda chuckled, oblivious. The gravity of his expressions, however, I did. Captured all. I extended my arms high above my head, lengthening my torso, permitting my movements to be slow and intentional. I found great pleasure in this experience. Relishing the spotlight, Alan shifted. Clutching his towel, running it through his wet hair. He remarked that she has consistently been this way. She hardly puts in any effort, yet she excels at everything. There was something in his tone that caught my attention and made me look at him. His words flowed easily, yet his jaw remained clenched. A fleeting glimpse of something inscrutable crossed his features before he averted his gaze, and that. The flicker sent a thrill coursing through me. Later that evening, after Amanda had departed and Ron had returned home, Alan and I found ourselves sitting outside by the pool. The sun sank beneath the horizon, casting the sky in hues of lavender and gold. "I didn't know you were interested in yoga," he said at last, shattering the quiet that had settled between them. I glanced at him, savoring a deliberate sip of my wine. "I wasn't," I confessed. His smirk diminished just a bit. And for the briefest moment, an unvoiced understanding lingered in the air between us. Today, I achieved a victory. I was uncertain about the specifics. I awoke with an unusual sensation lingering in my chest. It was neither regret nor guilt. It was something far more elusive. A consciousness, a change in the atmosphere, a realignment of elements. The night prior, Alan had regarded me in a new light. It wasn't something overt, something obvious, but I sensed it in the way his gaze lingered, the way his voice softened when he spoke to me. I had devoted countless years to the belief that I would forever hold the title of the most significant woman in his life. Then Amanda arrived, and for the first time, I felt the unsettling sensation of being replaced. However, something shifted yesterday. I still possessed a strength that I had once feared was gone. I remained Victoria, and Alan had observed. That morning, as I poured my coffee and stepped outside onto the patio, Alan was already by the pool, absorbed in his phone. He glanced up upon noticing me, his expression lighting up. "Good morning, Mom." I settled into the chair opposite him, basking in the warmth of the sun on my skin. "You've risen with the dawn." He confessed he couldn't sleep, placing his phone aside. I found myself lost in thought. "Perhaps you could demonstrate some yoga for me." I raised an eyebrow, slightly taken aback. I believed Amanda was the authority on yoga. He chuckled. "She is, however. I would prefer to gain knowledge from you." There was an intriguing quality in his words, a subtle spark that sent a gentle thrill coursing through me. Grinned. "Very well," I remarked, reclining in my chair. "When would you like to get it done?" He extended his arms above his head, his muscles tautening just a bit. "What do you think about this afternoon? I'm curious to find out if I can match your pace." I let out a soft laugh, savoring a sip of my coffee. "Be cautious about what you desire." Our eyes locked, filled with mischief and a hint of defiance. "We shall see." I dedicated an excessive amount of time selecting my outfit. It was absurd. It was merely a straightforward yoga session. A mother assisting her son in stretching, leading him through the fundamentals. As I stood before my closet, my fingers gliding over the neatly hung activewear, I found myself pausing to admire certain pieces. The black leggings were secure and functional. However, my gaze shifted to another object. The gentle pink top embraced my figure perfectly. complemented by the matching shorts that struck the ideal balance between comfort and allure. I extended my hand toward them before I had the chance to reconsider. As I finally made my way outside to the patio, I found Alan already there, waiting for me. His mat unfurled beside the pool. He looked up when he noticed me, and for a fleeting instant, his expression shifted, his gaze flicked across me in an instant. Too swiftly. I feigned ignorance. "Are you prepared?" requesting to maintain a cheerful tone. He cleared his throat and gave a nod. Yet he was missing the flexibility that comes from consistent practice. He let out a low grunt of frustration while attempting to maintain a pose, his muscles quivering ever so slightly. "Calm down," I said, moving behind him to correct his stance. "You're carrying an excessive strain in your shoulders." He breathed out as I gently rested my hands on his back, pressing gently. "Improved?" "Inquire." He nodded, his voice softer than before. "Indeed." As we transitioned through the poses, every adjustment and subtle correction revealed an unspoken connection hanging in the air between us. I reassured myself that it was merely a fleeting sensation, a simple byproduct of leading someone through the intricacies of movement, but then arrived the stretching. I reclined on my stomach, extending my arms ahead, my back curving gently. "Text, this is an excellent method to elongate your spine," I remarked. "You aspire to give it a shot?" Alan nodded, settling down next to me, continuing. I cast a sidelong glance in his direction. A great method to enhance the stretch is by involving a partner. "Here, grasp my hands." He paused briefly before extending his hand toward me. His grip enveloped mine with certainty, and as he leaned back, drawing me in softly, I experienced a surge of an unforeseen occurrence. The stretch was profound and impactful. Yet my attention drifted away from my muscles. For a fleeting moment, I was acutely aware of everything around me. The sensation of his grip was both firm and gentle. The heat of his skin pressed against me, the rhythm of his breathing, calm and measured. As I finally straightened up, I turned to face him, and for a brief moment, silence enveloped us both. Dismissing the rapid thump of my heart that seemed to quicken beyond reason. Excellent stretch. Later that evening, after dinner, I found myself on the couch, scrolling through my tablet, when Alan walked in with a bottle of water. He handed it to me, saying, "Here." I gazed upward, astonished. "What is this for? You neglected to hydrate." "After yoga," he stated plainly. I extended my hand toward the bottle, and in that moment, I became acutely aware of his proximity, directly before me. I gazed up at him, and for the briefest moment, an unspoken connection flickered between us. A flicker of something. He cleared his throat, taking a step back. "It is essential to maintain proper hydration." I breathed out, managing to create a faint smile. "Thank you, Alan." He nodded and strolled away toward his room. I lingered for what felt like an eternity, gazing at the untouched bottle of water cradled in my hands, attempting to dispel the unsettling sensation that something had changed. Perhaps, just perhaps. I wasn't just imagining things. The following morning, I awoke feeling more buoyant than I had in months. A distinct energy hung in the atmosphere, something unexpressed, something fresh. As I brushed my hair and adjusted my robe, memories of yesterday flooded my mind, the yoga session, the elongation. The way Alan had gazed at me, not merely as his mother, nor just as someone known, but as someone he was unexpectedly perceiving in a fresh perspective. I dismissed the thought, attributing it to my own intensified feelings. It was insignificant. It had to be nothing, but then he rapped on my bedroom door. "Mother," I turned away from my vanity mirror, my heart fluttering at the sound of his voice. "Enter." Alan entered, clad in his typical athletic shorts and a snug t-shirt. His hair remained moist from the shower. He appeared revitalized, as if he had already dedicated the morning to a workout, which was typical for him. Yet the way he gazed at me, unwavering and intent, seemed distinct. He rested against the doorframe. "I was curious if you could demonstrate some additional yoga poses for me. Seriously, show me how. I appreciate Amanda's skills, but I enjoy gaining insights from you." The manner in which he expressed it, effortlessly yet with purpose, sent a soothing vibration through me. I smiled as I turned to my dresser, where my yoga tops were neatly folded. Okay. But if we're approaching this with intention, I should likely choose something that feels comfortable. Alan's eyes darted toward the dresser. What other tops are available? I looked at him, taken aback. What is happening? I noticed yesterday that your pink one looked nice, he said, shrugging. Are there any additional colors available? I paused briefly before sliding open the drawer, letting my fingers glide across the smooth fabric. I possess a lemon one and a black one. Alan moved in, his gaze sweeping over the choices. He extended his hand. Yet there was an underlying hint of mischief in his expression. Why not? I sighed but picked up the black top regardless. As I pulled it over my head, adjusting the fabric, I sensed Alan drawing nearer. His hand extended, and before I could respond, he gently pulled at one of the straps, aligning it against my shoulder, stilled. It was a straightforward action, seemingly harmless in concept. I experienced an unexpected feeling. A surge of an indescribable feeling. Alan's voice took on a gentler tone, as he spoke once more. This is the one you should wear to class with me. I swallowed, maintaining a light expression, not wanting to acknowledge the sudden charge in the air. It seems you truly enjoy taking on the role of a personal stylist, don't you? He merely shrugged. I believe you look great in it. There it was again, that seemingly casual remark that seemed to bear more significance than it ought to have. I averted my gaze, feigning concentration as I secured my hair in place. All right, I declared, injecting a light-hearted spirit. However, you should make sure to stay on track this time. Alan let out a soft laugh. I will make an effort. Before he exited the room, his fingers grazed my forearm, a fleeting, casual touch, yet it remained. As he departed, I let out a breath, placing a hand over my heart, sensing the rapid thump of my pulse. I was completely unaware of the game we had embarked upon. However, I was beginning to find pleasure in it. After our second yoga session of the day, one that left both of us breathless and sweating under the late afternoon sun, I settled onto the couch, my muscles aching in the most satisfying way. It seems you've become quite knowledgeable all of a sudden. He smiled broadly. I've been fortunate to have an excellent mentor. I shook my head but lifted my legs onto the couch, allowing him to kneel beside me. His hands discovered my calves first, his thumbs applying slow, firm strokes, releasing the tension from my muscles. I let out a breath of relief, settling back into the cushions. You're quite skilled at this, I whispered. Alan grinned slyly. Indeed. I nodded, my eyes fluttering shut, surrendering to the soothing sensation of his touch. He ascended to my thighs, his hands warm against my skin, pressing into the taut muscles with careful precision. It was a straightforward gesture, merely a son assisting his mother with her post-yoga recovery, yet, the atmosphere surrounding us seemed altered. Silent. I cracked my eyes open just a bit, observing him closely. His expression was intense, bordering on excessive. As he shifted his hands once more, I exhaled sharply, a reflexive response to the pressure on a particularly tender muscle. Alan stood motionless, his hands resting against my leg, his gaze met mine. For a brief instant, silence enveloped us both, then he smiled, shattering the stillness of the moment, sensitive to touch. I chuckled, shaking my head in disbelief. No, just a bit achy. Good, he said, pressing his thumbs in deeper. Then I must be on the right track. I allowed myself to unwind again. Shutting my eyes once more, the moment had slipped away. Yet, an unspoken presence remained, hovering in the silence that enveloped us. Something that neither of us wished to label, perhaps. We never would. Alan and I never addressed the shift that had occurred between us. There was no necessity for that. Certain aspects of existence simply exist beyond the need for explanation. They just are, much like the sun ascends unbidden, or how the tide caresses the shore in a quiet, eternal dialogue. Yoga transformed into our sacred practice. Each afternoon, we spread our mats by the pool, flowing together in serene unity. Initially, it centered on harmony and adaptability, on inhalation and motion. However, as time passed, it transformed into something entirely different. Something profound. A realm that was solely ours, Alan stopped mentioning Amanda as frequently. He remained by her side, continued to make plans, and spent time with her, yet, when he was at home, he was with me, and I found myself alongside him. We never identified what was unfolding. We never discussed the change in the atmosphere, the pause in our quiet moments, or the way our gazes lingered just a heartbeat too long. We simply allow it to exist. And for now, that sufficed. Following each yoga session, we engaged in stretching together. It evolved into a regular practice, a silent understanding. "Your shoulders are tight again," Alan murmured one evening as I sat cross-legged on the couch. Rolling my neck. "Make a choice. I've been pushing them too hard." Excessive planks. Alan sat beside me, a smirk playing on his lips. "Spin around." I followed his request, and his hands settled on my shoulders, working gently. His touch was confident, exact, inviting. I let out a slow breath. "You're improving quite a bit at this," he chuckled. "At this pace, I might as well start billing you." I chuckled, leaning my head forward to offer him easier access. "Charge it to my account." His fingers delved deeper, navigating the tension with precision, and I allowed myself to unwind entirely. The night was alive with a symphony of sounds that enveloped us, the far-off murmur of crickets, the sporadic plop from the pool, the gentle sigh of the breeze weaving through the palm trees. Experienced tranquility. Authentic. "You should allow yourself to take things a bit slower," Alan said gently. "You never do." I smiled, my eyes remaining shut. "You understand me all too well." He took his time to respond, and when he finally did, his voice was softer. I do." On certain evenings after our meal, we lingered by the pool, cocooned in blankets, enjoying cups of tea. On other nights, we enjoyed movies together, nestled on the couch as we did when he was small. Years had passed since we last shared this much time together. "I missed this," Alan confessed one evening. His voice was scarcely more than a whisper. I cast a quick look at him, my cup cozy in my hands. "What did I miss?" He paused for a moment before locking eyes with me. I smiled, sensing a gentle warmth spreading through my chest. "Same here." We lingered in quietude for a time, observing as the sky deepened into darkness, allowing the moment to expand between us like a connecting span. He extended his hand, enveloping mine with a gentle squeeze. I pushed back. No words were necessary. Some matters, ultimately, are best kept to oneself. Time advanced, as it inevitably does. Amanda remained a part of Alan's life, and I understood that, in time, circumstances would change once more. One day, he would tie the knot, start a family of his own, and focus on his own priorities. I would observe from afar, a smile on my face, feigning indifference to my longing. Yet, in this instant, we possessed something special. For the time being, we engaged in yoga during the afternoons and shared quiet conversations in the evenings, and the sort of intimacy that required no label. And perhaps, just perhaps, that was sufficient, for the time being.